Welcome back to the Cincinnati Kids Vintage Card Channel, where cards, stories, and history, both yours and mine, come to meet. The Cincinnati Reds have been in 9 World Series, winning 5 of them. The opponents have been the White Sox, Yankees, Tigers, Yankees, Orioles, A's, Red Sox, Yankees again, and A's again. Today I'd like to focus on the Baltimore Orioles, though, particularly their pitching aces. The 1970 World Series was the first for the Big Red Machine, and although their pitching was pretty good, led by staff ace Gary Nolan, the Orioles pitchers were better, battle-tested. Here we see 3 of the Bird Hill aces: Mike Cuellar, Hall of Famer Jim Palmer, and Dave McNally. Palmer is a Hall of Famer, while the other 2 are in the Hall of Very Good. We know a lot about Palmer already. He outdueled Sandy Koufax in Game 7 of the 1966 World Series, which was Palmer's first full season in the Bigs. But what about these other 2? Cuellar actually made his debut with the Cincinnati Reds, having a 1959 rookie card. The young lefty made a couple of relief appearances in his brief Reds career. Cuellar was probably the poster boy of that age-old baseball phrase, "He had his cup of coffee in the Bigs." He appeared on a 1960 Topps card of the Reds, but he was no longer with the team by the start of the 1960 season. He had been shipped off to hone his pitching skills in the South and Central American leagues. As was typical of the impatient Reds organization, his rights eventually were picked up by the expansion Houston Colt 45s, although they were the Astros by then, where after a 1965 season in the Cardinals organization, he solidified himself in the Astros starting rotation. But they too gave up on him, and Cuellar was shipped to the Orioles. A very superstitious guy, the Southpaw was quickly infused into an already solid rotation with Jim Phoebus, pictured here in the Bird Hill Aces card above, and our other ace Southpaw, Dave McNally. And oh, by the way, Mike Cuellar came back to haunt the Reds, winning the final game of their square-off in the 1970 World Series for the Birds. Back to McNally. Dave had been in Baltimore a little while longer, pitching his first full season with the team in 1963. Dave was one of those odd lefty throwers that batted right-handed, a la Sandy Koufax, thus exposing his pitching arm to opposing pitchers. Of course, by 1970, this wasn't an issue, except in Riverfront Stadium during that World Series, as a DH had been instituted in the junior circuit the previous season. When I earlier mentioned McNally was in the Hall of Very Good, he was really good. In his career of 14 seasons, McNally posted 184 wins, 119 losses, a 3.24 career ERA, 4 20-win seasons, a career 1.214 whip, 1,512 strikeouts, 33 shutouts, 120 complete games. Unfortunately, he had only a 25.5 career WAR, which is likely omitting him from Cooperstown enshrinement. Well, those were the aces. Now here are the 8's. Earlier this summer, I submitted these 3 cards to SGC, and they came back better than I could have ever hoped or guessed. These 3 players, Lou Brock, Joe Morgan, and Harmon Killebrew, were the heart and soul of their franchises for many years. Just look at that deep, rich blue sky behind Killebrew. This may be my favorite 72 Topps card. And why? Just look at it. Or perhaps that stoic pose of Joe Morgan with his batting helmet on. This was the original Joe Cool in Cincinnati, long before the current one ever threw a football. The memories of this era for me was heading off to kindergarten, the very first year, which was 1977. In the spring of that year, I would see my very first movie, which happened to be called Star Wars. Yes, it was sold out, so my dad and I had no choice but to sit in the front row of the tiny little theater. Needless to say, there was a good time to be had, as laser beams and lightsabers really shot by my smiling face, probably not unlike the ever-smiling and legendary Lou Brock here, resplendent on his 1973 Topps card. Speaking of smiling, finally we come to the last segment of this episode, which has found me with a So Thoughtful Care card package from Eric, the Detroit collector. I was actually moved to tears when I read his letter, which I will share with you now. Hey Topher, hope all is well. I wanted to send you something that I think will fit well in your collection. I have really enjoyed your videos and saw the State of Year 1960 Topps collection. You mentioned you wanted to collect all the Hall of Famers in 1960, which is close to my heart because it was the first vintage card I got as a child. I wanted to give this to you. Keep up the great videos, and I can't wait to see when you complete your 1960 Hall of Fame Topps run. Talk to you soon. Eric, the Detroit collector. And the gift he gave me was this 1960 Topps rookie star of Jim Kittycott. The timing of this gift couldn't have been better. Frankly, I had had a shitty day, and this picked me right up. It is the connecting and the kindness within those connections that we have in this YouTube community that mean all the best in this country to me. The people, the generosity, the friendship. I don't want to believe we are an angry people, as others, both here and abroad, think of us right now. These small acts of kindness are actually big. When they build up and amass greatly among each other, that's when we are truly blessed. So to the card. Why does this card mean so much to me? Well, I used to have this card in my collection. It was raw, and I didn't take it with me when I was exiting a time of my life I refer to as the late unpleasantness. I stored it in a box with so many of my other vintage cards I didn't have room for when I downsized. Again, this one ended up with my friend Steve, whose house burned down, and presumably my cards with it. To receive this card again represents a second chance. A second chance to own this card, so similar like a second chances we need in life, because I probably would never have bought it for myself again. Eric could not have possibly known this entire backstory, but he took a chance and gave me this card anyway. If you believe in a spiritual realm that goes beyond time and this small planet we all inhabit, then maybe we have the answer. We don't always know the outcome of our generosity. We just have the faith to do it. And let the rest fall where it may. So until next time, thank you for watching, subscribing, and liking. At times they may be weird, but the cards and the memories will always be there.